Welcome to OTR, a friendly debate, the show where lawyers debate topics ranging from music, TV, movies, pop culture, which I guess that all falls under, as well as philosophy. Our lawyers debate entirely subjective topics, and the moderator, me this episode, decides the winner arbitrarily, where the only prize is bragging rights. We aim to change the hearts and minds of our listeners, but ultimately fall short every single time. My name is Lando. I'll be moderating this episode to better understand our true nature. Are humans naturally good? Or was Michael Jackson singing about humankind and we're all just bad?
Really, really bad.
Much like this podcast.
The whole world has to answer right now to tell us once again.
Are humans naturally good or evil? That's the topic for this episode, so let's meet our debaters. Arguing for the side of man being essentially good, we have our immigration attorney, whose mere desire to help those in true need obtain asylum from dire straits adds credence to his argument.
Do they dire straits and credence, huh?
Our favorite Moochie Tucci. Moochie. How's it going?
It's good. It's good.
So
things are working out.
Things are working out.
Yeah.
Things are working out now. So you're leaning towards this position based on your friend? Like the nicest guy in the world?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. I was talking about this the other day. I was like, I feel like I'm pretty nice, but like, man, like every time does something, I'm like, shit, I need to be like Like he just gets stuff for people or like get soup if you're sick. Like
he's the nicest
really
guy.
goes above and beyond.
Thoughtful.
Yeah. Like, man, I need to step it up.
And so arguing for the side of man being basically a piece of shit and that can't change at all. We have our in-house patent attorney, Pat.
Yep, Pat the Patent Wrangler. Got to get my business cards printed out.
You're in-house for OTR now?
I got to say, I was in line for like 15 minutes waiting at Mariano's to check out, and I don't even want to tell you the horrible things that bubbled up from my subconscious. Really just a visceral experience of how evil truly humans are at their core.
Just inside your own mind.
Inside my own. I chose not to act. Well, I guess we're assuming free will exists in this podcast, but we'll get into it. So I stood in line there with 1,000-yard stare and didn't say anything. Anyways,
I'm
ready to go. Like a good thing to do.
Yeah, a typical day at the grocery store.
In
the life of...
Didn't bitch anybody out.
So, as a reminder to everyone, the breakdown of this debate is as follows. A brief opening statement by each debater as soon as Pat gets done with his celery, followed by a few questions by me, and then closing arguments. So, as always, we'll start with a coin to flip. There is one right there.
An actual?
Yeah, an actual coin this time.
Who'd you rob to get that quarter?
No one called it.
Let's do that.
I realized that after the flip. Just. Did you see what it was?
I didn't see it.
I saw what it was.
You saw what it was?
I saw exactly.
So let Moochie pick it.
I'll call tails then.
Okay. It's heads.
Heads I win, tails you lose.
All right. So.
I'd like to go first. I think I need to get a couple knives in here before Moochie comes back with a smile on his face, trying to say everything's good.
Okay. Whenever you want to
smile,
go.
no like stitches and styptic for the stab wounds.
Nope, just a smile. Thoughts and prayers. So, I think that humans are, at their nature, truly evil, despicable creatures. For instance, I just recently got a dog, and never having owned a dog before, they are just an expression of pure goodness and joy. And on the other hand, you have people who are capable of war crimes and all other kinds of heinous acts. So, without humans, there would be no evil. I think any evil act requires human action. And so at our core, we are the source of evil. The universe, existing natural processes aren't evil, only humans. Now, beyond being just beings that can create evil, why are we evil at our core? It's because we are essentially beasts. It's at our very core. Evolutionarily, we have all of these, hardwired kind of impulses to act in antisocial ways. And it is only through training and learning and trying to become a more compassionate, empathetic, good person that we can keep those at bay. I think, religion certainly recognizes that we have at our core, an evil part, a bad part. Raised Catholic, so original sin. They also talk about the 7 deadly sins. Like, so much of human writing and philosophy looks at humans at their core being evil, and it's only that there's goodness in the world because it's acted against it. We have this whole legal system to protect against evil acts. If humans weren't evil, then they wouldn't be up against, these judges being sent to jail and executed. Although, that's not always... I'm going to take a step back. Not always happen justly. I've kind of gotten off track here, but yeah. Anyways, I'm going to talk about history. Coming into common human experience, biology and psychology throughout this debate. But I think, by any measure, humans are empirically at their core evil.
Okay.
I'm gonna go back to eating this.
Would you take a breather?
Okay.
And start it up.
When you start me up, I'll never stop. What is this, episode 1?
Just do it.
Sorry. So, really, humans, unlike dogs, unlike other creatures, are the only real beings in this world that can rise above their animalistic instincts to do anything one could consider objectively good. Now, while I acknowledge at the same time, humans are the only beings that can do something objectively evil, we're also the only species in the world that can take intentional, good actions that improve the lives of our fellow humans, as well as the health of our planet, the lives of animal species. I mean, there are people that see the suffering of animals in factory farms, right? And yes, that suffering, admittedly, is man-made, but they decide, we need to be better than that. That's inhumane, right? And decide to not eat animals at all, or lower their intake, or, try to lobby and create solutions or buy products that are, cruelty-free. So not to say any of this is perfect or 100% works in practice, but how do you explain that drive other than some innate nature to not want to, in this example, see animals suffer? And if we were objectively evil, wouldn't all of us turn aside and say, well, they're lesser beings, they deserve to be consumed by us, we don't owe them anything? There are people that see the suffering of their fellow humans as well and decide that it needs to stop in a similar manner. So, how do we explain this desire to do good and try to improve the lives of other humans that are not related to us and who we may never meet? I mean, that's not just evolution and only helping our kin, right? So, I think much of it, is a response to the evil that men have wrought. There's no real denying that, but the explanation then is what? That evil is the baseline then? I guess that's what Pat's saying, right?
That is exactly what I'm saying.
And
yes.
but is it that anyone that does good is behaving in an aberrant way against human nature? I mean, to me, that doesn't really hold water.
That's also what he said.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate you restating my opinions in your opening.
Well, as I said,
clearly.
To me, that doesn't hold water, and I don't think we usually interrupt each other's openings.
Wrong.
Shots fired.
How many podcasts have you been doing? How many episodes?
But anyway, I'll leave with this. So there must be a reason we describe cruel human actions, or cruel actions that occur, that cause suffering as, quote, inhumane. I mean, because we acknowledge that we need to be better than that human nature is to do better. No other being on our planet does that, so our intelligent and more evolved natures have given us the tools to do good and the ability to rationalize and use them, which is unique to us among all other species on this planet.
Are we really trying to save the Earth or better the Earth, like you said?
I think plenty of people are.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of people's desire to, and I'll get to that later, but, desire to, and I don't know if we're jumping in right now, but desire to see the world, still survive beyond them, beyond their own lives. What explains that desire to do anything beyond your own life?
Get into where this debate came from and a little bit of the history of it before we start diving really deep into it. I think Moochie...
I think history is pretty deep dive, but yeah.
We could skim over it. Moochie, do you have something for me? Yeah.
Sure. We previously were discussing Aristotle, and I think, in a sense, I think Pat is also maybe going to mention Aristotle, but just for my side, he does argue that humans are the only beings with a rational soul. The exercise of that rationality is what he says is the supreme good. And he also believed the best measure of moral judgment is choice, which is made voluntarily by means of rational deliberation, and that we must always choose to aim for good. But because we are ignorant at times about what is good, we end up choosing an apparent good that's often bad. So Aristotle, essentially believed that humans are amoral, though born without a conscience, and therefore morality. In contrast to Rousseau, who believed that humans are naturally good but are corrupted by society. So he believed that man in the state of nature is inherently good, has the capacity to be moral.
This kind of Genesis, Adam and Eve in the garden kind of stuff. I mean, Rousseau...
The noble savage. Yeah. So, yes, that, symbolizes the innate desire of good. The innate goodness of someone who did not be exposed to the corrupting influences of society, but becoming part of society doesn't necessarily make a man evil. It's within one's own capacity to develop a moral goodness. And while self-preservation comes first, our quality of compassion directs us to attempt to relieve the suffering of others if we can do so without endangering our own self-preservation. So that's kind of two philosophers and their, basically very, very cliff-noted, points of view on that on my side so far.
Oh yeah, this is like thousands of years of debate that we're not going to go into right now. Okay. All right. Pat, do you have anybody that you want to talk about, or you just want to leave it at Aristotle?
Well, I think Aristotle and Rousseau are fine. Aristotle starts with the tabula rasa, that we're born at a clean slate, and like you said, Rousseau thinks we're corrupted. But in my perspective, neutrality is what allows for evil to happen. Inaction can allow for evil to happen. And so, neutrality, complacency, inaction allow evil to flourish. So, even if we're not evil at our core, and maybe this is just a cop-out argument like Ghosts versus Aliens.
It's canon now that that's a cop-out.
At least, if we're not agents of evil, if our natural born state of neutrality...
I'm glad you were saying that, Moochie.
It's now canon. It's canonized.
Yeah, this is going to be used in the appeal that's still going.
Yeah.
Basically an admission at this point.
So you should have some sympathy, though, for if anything gets to cop-out territory.
Okay, yeah.
Be on the alert.
Well, hey, I'm not going to let that ride here.
So, basically, because our natural state is neutral, our natural state allows for evil to flourish. That we aren't prepared at this tabula rasa to do good. That good requires it requires basically an affirmative act. Neutrality may as well just be, something that's evil. And so if our natural state allows for the commission propagation of evil, then our natural state is as good as being evil. It's only, through learning that we develop defenses against antisocial evil acts, things like that, however we want to define morals subjectively. So, the other thing I kind of brought up in the beginning, but the concept of original sin, that, Adam and Eve are the first two people, but everyone since then is born with original sin, that evil at their core. Maybe there's some good stuff packed in around it, but I guess it could be a mixed bag. Maybe you got some good parts, some evil parts, but
I want
each of us, in the Catholic view,
I want to maybe bookmark something to jump in later. So just maybe should jump in now.
Why don't you just dig your beak into that?
So one of the things I was thinking about though is in preparing for this is, are we talking about humans 1,000 years ago? Were of a certain state of nature to be innately bad, or are we talking about humans now? They're still innately bad, or have we evolved since then? Have we developed to have being good be an evolutionary adaptive trait to helping people, being something that over time has evolved to be something that is important to our survival, and therefore being good is now inherent in us, but maybe wasn't thousands of years ago?
I mean, I'm sympathetic to a moral relativist perspective. In the Bible, I'm just going to keep bringing this up because I don't know. I went to a fucking Catholic high school, Catholic college. Like, it's what I got. Anyways,
if we
Well, don't
evolved.
interrupt. I was actually going to say something before
Oh,
I dropped my tablet here.
You dropped it, so I wasn't sure if you lost your place or something.
Yeah, like there's all this stuff in the Bible about like, oh, here's how you be a good slave. Oh, a good master only beats his slaves occasionally. And it's like, well, yeah, that was radical for like, 0 AD, but now it's like completely reprehensible if you were saying that. So the relativist perspective, like, yeah, you can give credence to like someone being a good person in their time and place. Speaking of place, I think the good place has a good perspective of no one being able to be allowed into heaven in the past, like 2,000 or past, what is it, 100 years, because everything is so bad.
Yeah, the whole point is that there was no like inherently good choice because everything was attached to like, so no one could get into heaven. But I guess the point was that you can still be a good person, even though like all these people are in hell for an unjust reason because the system was fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to talk about getting to season 4 when they, change the standard, but
see, like modern day.
This is now a Good Place podcast.
Are we talking season 1 Good Place or season 4 Good Place?
I'm talking season 1.
I never finished it, so if you guys are talking about season 4, I'm just going to take these off.
So, do you want to talk about society then? These complicated organization of, human interaction.
What was your history then? Like, I might have your history of like the background of your side.
Well, there was Aristotle, Tabula Rasa. There was a bunch of
Nietzsche, right?
Well, we're getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of philosophers
he comes away
that talk about different ways to analyze morals, which in my mind are all just completely subjective because I, kind of picked up a lot of my reading at Nietzsche, who says this is all bullshit. All these previous writings about good and evil are just ways to launder the author's subjective opinions on what is good and what is bad.
He did the My Cousin Vinny and pointed at Aristotle. Everything that man just said is bullshit.
It's essentially, yeah. So, I know where my heart lies.
And his buddies,
so I don't think there's anything more in the history here to discuss.
Okay.
I mean, unless you want to talk about, like, Genghis Khan.
So I guess,
Do we want to talk about Genghis Khan?
No.
Are we talking Khan?
Khan! So I guess Pat's kind of talking about society in general, and I think from what it sounds like, Moochie, you're talking about individuals are wanting to do good. Like as a society, do you actually think we are good doers? Like we want to do well?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is there something to be said that, yes, individuals are trying to clean up the planet. Yes, we want to, be able to live on this planet.
Is this going to be strictly ecology?
I'm just using that.
We're just going to end up talking about it in the context.
I'm using that as an example.
I'm fine with. We can just stay there.
So, are you saying that these individuals, they want to help the Earth?
Yeah.
But isn't there something to be said that the actual people that, are either placed into power or gained power are not so inclined to do the same thing that the grassroots people are trying to do?
Well, yeah, I think there's
politics.
So
on my
we're gonna get out of it.
It's more likely than you think.
We're gonna dive in the shallow end.
Okay.
And
so I mean,
I want to get up to neck deep in this politics.
I feel like you're talking about on the individual level versus society at large. Like, but what is society but a collection of individuals? Like, I mean, yes, this is the corrupting influence of society that Rousseau talks about, right? But still, that humans are innately good and still want to do good. I think a separate issue of that is there it is
right there, innately, right?
Right.
So, some people could be the abnormality and want to do good, whereas the majority...
Well, humans are innately good, is what he says. Right. Not innately bad.
If they're innately good, then why do we need, laws?
So
why do we grant the state a monopoly on violence?
Let's get back to executing people.
Yeah.
But no,
why do we allow the state to kill people if someone is too evil to keep around?
Well, we shouldn't.
Well, we do.
Get back into politics here.
Yeah.
Not in this
the deep end.
I'm grabbing the steering wheel. We're staying on the highway. We're not taking the
I think the other thing of that is a separate issue where you could say that power corrupts, which is how does that? I mean, you're saying power corrupts an individual who is innately good. Power is not corrupting an individual who is innately bad. It would be corrupting something that's innately evil.
So good can't corrupt an evil person?
I mean,
didn't we watch The Grinch growing up?
So good can corrupt an evil. I don't think there's. I think that someone being evil is an abnormality. Is in, again, I come back to the word inhumane. We describe certain actions that are not up to our moral standards as inhumane, not human by definition. Not the way humans should act. You're acting the way a human shouldn't act.
Well, I kind of want to talk about some of those things that are common to every sort of individual in a society.
If you're watching on YouTube, it's like I'm drinking 3 beers.
Yeah, I think we need more empty beers on the table. So I think there's
it's only my second.
Obviously a biological aspect of the meat that humans are made of, and then also common human experience. So I want to start at biology. We have this wonderful brain that is the product of hundreds of thousands, millions of years of evolution from the lowliest amoeba up to whatever creature decided, I'm going to go on land, which was a mistake. So inside each and every one of us, there's these subconscious systems, non-conscious systems that are completely ancient. If you watch Dexter, he talks about the lizard brain, which I don't fucking know, but it's the idea that you have reactions and things that you aren't necessarily in control of, that you don't have a choice of, that operate independently of any sort of conscious moral self that you may have learned. And so these different systems provide instincts, and they were useful because they ensured the survival of the human race, over time. And we almost went extinct, kind of very briefly before we came back out. So that's kind of neat. That's literally narrowed it down to the traits that helped us survive through there. We have these fight or flight, involuntary reactions, gut feelings. You can get nerves. All of this is our body operating automatically, and in many cases without our knowing. There's this whole idea of very hot right now.
You're talking about this room right now.
Oh, this room is very hot right now. Yeah, pressure cooker. But
it's the people in it.
Sympathetic nervous system. Have you guys heard of this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So the idea that you have these connections between your gut and your heart and your brain that aren't necessarily conscious, that regulates the beating of your heart, your digestion, and all of that can then impact, mentally what you're thinking or feeling. But this operates independently of any thought. You can be a vegetable, and this nervous system, this sympathetic nervous system, is still going to pump your heart. Actually, without a nervous system, your heart actually will self-pump. So it's kind of interesting. People have brain damage or spinal cord damage, and their heart will still beat despite having no connection. They just have a consistent 90 BPM heartbeat. There's also other concepts of these ancient non-conscious parts of our brain. You could have damage to a part of your brain that allows you to see, but if someone throws something at you, as long as it's just the mental part of it, the processing part of it that's damaged, someone can throw something at you and you'll still have a sense to move. Or that people who will, lose the ability to hear, but because of brain damage or something, but they can still react to a loud bang or something. Because it's this ability, like a lizard can process sound and things without having conscious thought attached to it. So there's all kinds of stuff in our brain going on that we don't even know about, that we don't have control about, that I'd say is ancient and essential to each and every one of us. And acting on these instincts. And this is where I'm going. I can tell you guys
I was going to try to narrow it down.
We're bringing it all home.
Okay.
So acting on these systems that we have all inherited to ensure our survival, acting on them in a society is evil, right? This is something that is the core to each of us. You can't just murder somebody else because, they're trying to get on your food or something, or I guess you could, but that's considered evil. This drive to, be completely distrustful of other people and the actions that come out of that. I think that just basically, if you look at animalistic behavior that we all are capable of as humans, and at a certain extent are wired for, because it's humans, humans acting in that way, it then becomes this evil, immoral act. Does that make any sense? I don't know. Moochie gave me a sympathetic short nod. The words I'm saying not in the order.
So is it
That's its own
a long story to get to this, this lizard part of us is evil?
Yeah.
It's animalistic.
It's animalistic with yourself.
It's independent
self-serving.
of, this sort of goodness that you can learn. I'm saying it's, if it requires consciousness and free will to choose to do good, you have all of this hardware that's wired to do evil at any cost to ensure survival.
So at the root of the debate, are humans naturally evil?
Yeah.
Yes, because...
Lizard brain is.
Oh yeah, sorry. I thought I started off by saying that humans are evil. Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to make that clear.
But
we've had a couple of beers.
See, I'm glad that you brought this up because.
Oh, are you?
Perfect response. That's why.
No, well, because the last time we did the philosophical debate, one of your questions for me was.
Does my cat have free will?
It was not that. Although I thought about that the other day because I said to my cat as I was leaving, "Be good, make good choices." But no,
You just got a cat, by the way.
I did, yeah.
And so I think this might be a point in Moochie's favor because how long did you spend at that animal rescue place?
4 hours, I think. Yeah.
Oh shit! I'm sorry I missed that, guys. That would be fun.
Oh, I didn't stay for it.
No, he didn't.
Dropped his ass off and left.
But it was very nice for him to bring me there.
So okay, continue. Sorry.
But no, what the point was, or in that episode was, where in the brain is free will located? Could you point to an area? Mm-hmm. And so I was looking up where is goodness located, and where is what is the science of doing good deeds, essentially.
It's like one of those old-timey charts with like the person cut in half.
Okay.
Here's the part of your brain dedicated to thinking about the metaverse.
So what I did...
It's all of it.
I pulled up a WebMD article and found out I have the black lung, actually. No,
is that an authoritative source?
Well, it was peer-reviewed by an MD. It's a WebMD article. I'm going to cite
Dr. Oz?
No.
Dr. Phil, actually.
Dr. Mantis Tabak.
So it's called The Science of Good Deeds by Jeannie Lurch Davis. And discusses Stephen Post, this PhD professor of bioethics at Case Western Reserve University School of Medicine. And he headed up 50 scientific studies on good deeds, essentially. So here's some highlights I got from the article. One is that we talked earlier about stress and the fight or flight, Pat did. So engaging in good deeds reduces our stress levels, including the physiological changes caused by stress. So being stressed, being in that fight or flight for long periods of time can cause adverse effects to our immune system, cardiovascular system, and extending out from that can cause premature aging, weakened defenses. And Post explains that in engaging in good deeds, we reduce our stress and thereby potentially lengthen our lives. There's also evidence...
So how does he define good or evil deeds? Because again, this is just like any other philosophy, completely, Is there a scale? Does he give criteria?
Did he test a murderer while he was murdering someone to see if his...
Because he may as well be like St. Augustine.
While he was murdering someone.
Did his...
he tested people... No, he tested people while they were doing good. Actually.
Exactly.
So while doing altruistic
like giving
things.
to charity or adopting a cat?
In whatever scientific study, doing things that were for the benefit of someone else, right? Altruistic deeds. So... And there's evidence in that study of...
Does it say what they were? What the deeds were?
It probably does, but I don't have them cited here.
That's fine.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Could those deeds have also been selfish?
Are we getting to the topic of... Well, let me...
Are we assuming this is a good doctor? Because I know plenty of bad doctors.
I mean, none of us are MDs, so,
Thank God.
Or PhDs, so... Just JDs, so, that's... Okay, anyway.
PYT.
PYTs. So there's also evidence in those brain studies of this compassion altruism axis. So MRI has shown specific regions of the brain that light up and that are active during emotions of deep empathy and compassion that are distinct from the areas of our brain that light up for romantic love. That are, there's areas of our brain that are activated, that light up, and when we do good deeds for people, that are distinct from loving your partner, or, a romantic.
What do you think's lighting up in Moochie's brain right now? Just look at him. What's going on inside his head?
I'm in the fight or flight.
Totally getting him right now.
He's in a hot room, being roasted on his opinion.
Motherfucking us in his head.
So this guy post this PhD said the brain studies show that there's a profound state of joy and delight that come from giving to others. And then finally, in an evolutionary perspective, he states that we humans have evolved to be caring and helpful to those around us, largely for our own survival. He noted that in Darwin's Descent of Man, the survival of the fittest, that term, very popular term, is only mentioned twice, whereas benevolence is mentioned 99 times. And also Harvard psychiatry associate Professor Gregory L. Friccione, MD, states that the human capacity for altruism may have an evolutionary basis because if it is evolutionary beneficial for humans to benefit from social support, it can be expected that evolution would provide us with the capacity to provide that social support to others.
I mean, I think there's some context here of evolutionary psychology being a field full of bunk. So
there's also a lot of questions that I would have. I know that you didn't write it all down and you didn't take, write everything down on this article or this study, I guess. But like,
should we post a link?
Yeah, we should probably post a link. We'll post a link.
Post a link to it.
I guess I would question whether they took into account, people doing good things selfishly. And, like people giving away something on YouTube for likes and subscriptions. And I'm doing
Are you
this.
getting some ideas here?
So stay tuned. We're going to give away a car.
This concept. Well, okay. So number one, you're talking about 50 different research studies where people are doing good or altruistic behaviors in a research perspective. Which maybe people are trying to just maybe not act exactly the way they would act. Whatever. We can get into that. But the other thing is that you're saying that maybe there's no innately good deed. Like there's no unselfish good deed.
What is the best good deed?
I mean, I think any. I
what
don't
is
think
the
that the overall best good deed. I don't know, saving someone's fucking life. I don't know.
Yeah. We need like a top 10.
But
sound off in the comments your favorite good deed and bad deed.
I don't buy that idea that there's no unselfish good deed. Like, yes, it makes us feel good. Okay. And you're talking about something where you get likes or whatever.
Yeah.
Some
our brain
dopamine
wants
rush
those
from
good
that.
chemicals.
Yeah. But you're still, at the end of the day, doing good. If it is in fact, a good deed. If it's, it can be an objectively good deed. You do something nice that improves someone's life. It doesn't matter that you feel good about it. It doesn't matter that it's selfish. I mean, yes, we're talking about it's evolutionarily advantageous.
That's kind of the study, though, right? Is that we've evolved to feel better or feel good in response to these altruistic acts.
And so by doing those acts, that's how we've evolved to be good, to do good.
What about Schadenfreude, though? Feeling good when you see your enemies suffer. Because let me tell you, I have this trial on Thursday, and it is full of Schadenfreude. Because these people suck. And I wish all the bad things in the world happen to them, and only them. I hate their guts.
But don't you stop at like a certain point? You're like, okay, I don't want them to die, but like I want them to like maybe
I don't want them to
have a law license anymore.
But these
they
were all
deserve
good
nothing.
These were all
so my
good
brain
deeds,
feels
right?
great thinking about awful things happening to these people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they're bad people.
I mean,
they
wronged me.
Bad. What were you saying?
So these are studies based on people doing good deeds, right?
Yeah,
and they tested their, they tested them to see if their brainwaves or some shit was.
They were seeing with an MRI, which isolating. And again, I don't. I was kind of cursorily wrote this down. Why I said but isolating certain parts of the brain that were activated or lit up.
Okay.
On an MRI from doing good deeds, which was separate from the parts of the brain or part of the brain that lights up when you have a romantic feelings for someone else. So it's separate from that. It's separate from just feeling like a romantic love for someone. It's like a separate part is implicated in, or separate parts are implicated in doing altruistic good deeds for people.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of like the...
Yeah.
I mean,
this is the second time I'm here.
Yeah, I know.
So.
Would they be able to test? Would they be able to test someone doing bad deeds? I mean, with that, I feel like that would cross so many ethical lines.
Just burning ants on a sidewalk.
Aren't those old like studies of giving electric shocks to someone else or like
excited them?
What?
Excited them.
Yeah, that's the whole reason there's institutional review boards. So they know these psychologists are just out here doing evil shit. Again, people do evil, and that's why we have all of these institutions and rules and regulations
undoubtedly
in
people
place.
do evil. I can't dispute that.
Because they are.
I say it's inhumane and immoral. It's animalistic. It's not what humans do.
Yeah, I think the idea of humanity is aspirational. Calling something inhumane, oh, this is how we ought not to behave.
Then why would we ever have those aspirations to better ourselves or be better? If it wasn't some innate desire to do good, where does that come from?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we just be screwing each other over all the time? I mean, yeah,
Well,
a lot of people are, but you and I, we aren't. We aren't screwed over.
So,
I'm sorry if I
speaking
did it,
of-
I guess.
speaking of the origin of those kinds of things, the well from which they come, I think there's also impulses we have, and this is going to focus more on, impulses towards oneself. So, I think we've all had, like Sufjan Stevens said, the thought of just driving your car off the road.
Fifth time he's come up in this podcast.
Or
as he should be.
it just this idea of like the death wish. I maybe I'm really fucking out of line, but I see like, have you not ever thought about just pulling a fucking cop's gun out of their holster? Has that thought never crossed your mind? Like touching, the thing that shall not be touched. Is it not fun to do bad things?
Yeah, I really thought I was like, this might be a good place to cut it.
We have within ourselves this font of devious, mischievous, antisocial impulses that are presented regularly to our consciousness. Really good point of this. If you haven't played Disco Elysium yet, play it. They have this whole basically grid of different
What the hell
mental.
is this?
It's a video game.
Oh.
It's great, but
What
it
is it
talks
called?
about like all
Disco Elysium.
Disco Elysium. Yeah, we'll have a affiliate link in the description for this episode. It's great. Play it. But it really plays with the idea of like, yeah, you can choose bad, but there is like a majority of like the constellation of your mental impulses. Just like, well, you could just like sell this kid drugs.
Yeah.
You want to be friends with this kid, so like sell him drugs. Why not? You need something out of him. So I'm just all to say that like, if there's this font of where good things come from, it's undoubtable that there is also a pile of, completely taboo stuff that bubbles up. People have suicidal ideation. I think that's probably a pretty evil act. If you kill a man, you have killed a man. But if you kill yourself, you've essentially killed the world. Mm-hmm. You've killed every man. So, if we're talking about humans at their essence, have we just gotten to a point where we're arguing, well, there's a bunch of bad shit humans can do, and there's a bunch of good shit humans can do.
That's what I was like.
But I think that, like, in my mind, we have the meat. We're Arby's. We have these evil meats that we've inherited. At best, we're neutral when we're born, and we have such a extreme capacity for evil that it's only by learning that we can keep at bay.
I think that's a really interesting point about these thoughts that creep up. Because, I mean, you're not the only one.
Right.
You're not the only one. And they do creep up. And I just don't... I don't have, like, a thought of... I'm just, like, driving along and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to donate a lot to charity right now. Like, that doesn't pop up in my mind the way that, like, veering off a fucking cliff or something. Like, oh... Or like, when you're stopped at a light or something, a pedestrian crosswalk.
Yeah.
Your thought is to keep stopping.
I have it.
You don't want to hit them.
But it's the call and response. The call is bad. It's only you've learned the response.
It's like, man, my foot is feeling really heavy. Like, I need to take it off this brake.
So is this like a nature versus nurture thing, though? Do you think that if you were...
No, I
think everyone is nature versus nurture because we're arguing humans are evil by nature.
Yeah, right.
So they can be good by nurture. You can have that point, but I'll take the crux here. The main topic is, are humans evil at their core?
So do you think if someone is like, born in under bad circumstances and doesn't have a good upbringing, that
What are
they're
saying
going
about
to not like you guys.
Because Pat and I just like revealed a lot about ourselves here.
Yeah, Nucci.
No. I'm
You
saying
gotta put
that.
something on the plate.
I'm saying
Yeah.
that. Are you saying that?
What's
a person,
yours?
Are you saying that a person would be a person that's brought up in those circumstances would be faced with that person crossing the intersection and go like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna hit the gas." Like, are you saying that someone in that circumstance is going to drive their car off a cliff? Like, where does it get to the point where that is actually an action that is taken by somebody?
Oh, that's...
Are you asking, has someone never acted on one of these?
Not that
Evil
someone has never
impulses?
acted on that, but
Why did
is
they do it? I'm not going to be able to answer
do you have
that.
do you have a comparable study where people would do something
What I'm
bad
asking
because of
without
their
consequences?
bad background?
What I'm asking,
Yeah,
Mucci,
right.
is...
I guess it's
Do
that's
you,
the thing.
do you think it's as common for people to have the opposite thought?
I mean, you're saying comically,
Just randomly,
don't a bunch of terror.
that
Yeah,
pops up in your mind without like you're not thinking of anything, and just like, man, what if my foot got off this brake? I'd hit this person.
mm-hmm.
Like,
I mean, you don't.
I'm not gonna do it.
You never.
I don't
What's
wanna
the
do it.
consequences? I mean,
I'm
if
not.
someone has no consequences for their actions, do you think they would act in a morally good or morally evil way?
Nope.
Absent consequences, because that's putting basically someone in a box, no constraints.
Still morally good because of the way we've evolved as a society to
Have
even
you
if it's
played
no
Grand Theft
consequence.
Auto?
Yeah. What are you talking about? Video games here? Yeah.
But
you can act in a
it
fantasy
is
video-
play. It is the fantasy. It's being able to do stuff without
Whatever you want.
consequences.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get wasted. You wake up at the hospital.
So also,
The cops take all your guns and you're out the next day.
you just
Like, come on, you see how no one stops at a stoplight in Grand Theft Auto unless you're like tailing somebody.
To the point of like, do good thoughts ever pop in your head? Thoughts to do good for people, right? Is that what you're saying?
right when you're completely not trying to think of that stuff. Like when you're
Well, you only notice it's a bad thought because you're like, I shouldn't think of that. If you probably think good thoughts all the time, like, oh, I should get a gift for my mom. I should get something for Connor. I should do
get
whatever.
a gift for Nucci's mom.
Yeah.
I should
What do you
get
guys
something.
think?
Does she listen to this?
I think all the time we're thinking good thoughts, but the aberrant bad thoughts
That's
pop
what I
up
was asking
sometimes.
from you, Mucci.
Yeah.
That's
We got sidetracked with GTA
Primo-
and Disco.
primo-
Elysium.
Sidetrack. I think this is on track. This is
that
my
is something
track.
though, because I mean, Grand Theft Auto, the way people act on there, and then when you're
You don't
playing-
have to.
when you don't have to, right? And then when you get into comment sections on like either Twitch or like gameplay, I mean, you hear these people talking. When you get online and you're anonymous, supposedly,
Yeah.
you want to get
Again-
into how people act on there?
No reputational consequences to saying you're going to fuck somebody's mom. Nothing. Or that you already did. So it is, I think it's revealing that when humans have that layer of isolation, they act in more evil ways. Congress critters are very often isolated from the consequences of their own actions, of the effects of their own policies, and they don't give a shit. They still put down awful policies that, increase segregation, that, it might be facially neutral, but very clearly are discriminatory, that harm the environment, if we want to come back to that. Favorite topic of mine. But it is, I think, that the isolation from one's consequences that allow humans to act on these evil things. And that, like I said, in my mind, goodness is a learned, resistance or reaction to these bad thoughts that are always common. That if you don't have the consequences, if you don't have those good thoughts, you're just going to consistently act in an evil way.
So,
as evidence of what's underneath.
Over time, though,
Lando, you got to stop me if we're just keep talking in
No,
circles here.
I wanted to hear what Mucci
I
was
just
gonna
wanted to say, like,
Sorry.
over time, though, that's why I was kind of talking about, like, are we talking about humans thousands of years ago or humans now, right? And the reason I was asking that is that we've evolved since then. Like, haven't we not evolved to be creatures that maybe weren't creatures that wanted to do good thousands and thousands of years ago, but at this point, it's ingrained in us to do good.
Are we talking
It's
about the
not even nature.
Sumerians?
It is our nature.
We're talking
do good.
Neanderthals?
But here's my question.
Homo
Mucci,
erectus?
with my question with where we are today, there are so many more laws. You're gonna get caught. You're gonna
Sound
get
like a
caught doing
libertarian.
something bad, right?
Aye.
So you are specifically. So thousands of years ago, you do something wrong, there's probably not going to be a consequence. You're probably going to get away with it. There's not cameras on every corner that's going to catch you.
So you might chop your hand off, though. If you steal it.
If you get caught red-handed.
Again, though, we've had those laws. There's so many more laws now. But over time, several generations back, a lot of those laws, or however long ago they came into place, that to not kill people, to not do these horrible things. Like chemically, though, is that not something that's passed on from like a father to a son? Like not nurture, like chemically, like over time, do we not change to be more hardwired to do good?
Could it not?
I mean, if you were a great murderer like Genghis Khan, thousands of years ago, but still, like he was a great murderer, and how many people across Eurasia have his genetics and those of his horde? Like, I would, not call Genghis Khan or his progeny good people, but like it was because he was such a successful murderer, raper, and pillager that there's a whole bunch of people now that are descendants. But I guess they learned. I'm not trying to disparage billions of people.
However,
that's to be explicitly clear.
All the time,
this isn't some sort of
since then, generation to generation. Passing down different genes, the bad ones out, the good ones, not even like in the sense of morally good or bad, but the evolutionarily advantageous ones out, or disadvantageous ones out, the advantageous ones in over time. Aren't we progressing to a better form of humans now being someone born now innately good?
I mean, I could beat this shit out of like a Victorian child.
Could that just not be, each generation passing down to their child, hey, don't do this, you're going to get caught.
So you're talking about nurture.
Genetics.
You are talking about nurture, but
right.
I am saying that even in nature, chemically, biologically, in the brain, I think that we are cultivating people that are more inclined to do good and be morally good than people that were born 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 500 years ago, whatever. Like,
how can that be tested?
I don't know.
You're gotcha. Basically saying there's some genetic basis.
We're all
to
talking
goodness.
philosophically.
Sentence or two.
Yeah, I'm getting sweaty.
Let's
talk about all these meats.
It's got the meat sweats.
I do have more than a sentence because I had a point I wanted to get to, and I don't want to take too long, but I had.
You're taking long.
I mean, here's my general point, and I guess this will be my closing, right? So, I had, as I've said before, I'm thinking about things with a critical eye, and as I mentioned in the Seinfeld episode. And one of those, thoughts I had, I was, thinking deep about, well, how much of the things I love and appreciate and that enrich my life are the result of other human beings? And I'm like, it's got to be 95% of everything, not just the music I listen to, what I watch, the art that enriches my life, but the house I live in, the city we're living in, where you live, my friends, my family, all these, everything that I appreciate in the world is pretty much a result of people. Even if I'm going out in nature, right? That's somewhere that we as humans have decided not to completely conquer and pave over. We've preserve this area for people to visit and appreciate and enrich their lives in nature and in a safe way. We don't have to fight for our lives. We can go back home to our warm bed. So I was thinking everything that I think of as good or that enriches my life or that is my reason for living is the result of other humans. So I can't see people as being innately evil when my life is shaped by the goodness of people.
Okay.
Moochie's a lover.
Okay.
You heard it here first, folks.
Pat, do you have something?
I think I'm going to end it with just one small concept. So are you familiar with NASCAR?
Yes.
NASCAR.
Yeah. Coming to Chicago next year. Very excited because they're going to turn right. They're going to turn right and great.
They're going to have to. Wait, what?
Yeah, it's the road course.
Wait, where are they doing it?
Grant
sorry,
Park.
not to.
Yeah, on the lakefront.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited. So, anyways,
The brilliance of human beings again.
we watch NASCAR for the crashes. These people that we love and admire, we watch NASCAR for
That was
the
pretty
crashes.
nice of him, by the way.
Yeah. So I think
But I think he's
that is
just
a
doing-
summary of my entire argument. We watch NASCAR to see people face certain death.
certain death.
Yeah. Do you know how they go like over 200 miles an hour? And they're going to be doing it on like shitty Chicago roads.
Lakeshore Drive just bumping.
No, see, that's what it is. You got to look it up. You guys got to look it up. It's going to
Yeah,
be
if
a
they hit one
fantastic
of those
race.
bumps on Lakeshore, if they have to go on Lakeshore Drive, man.
And so that's the draw. NASCAR is literally bringing out the worst in every Chicagoan that comes to see that, myself included.
I mean, and it's a huge sport, too, so what does that say about...
Yeah, Moochie, what's that say? Your home state of Florida, big NASCAR fan base.
I think you're overvaluing how many people want to see a crash in NASCAR.
You know what, okay, so...
Maybe I'm overvaluing it. Who knows? Who knows?
Okay, we'll save this for a motorsports episode because I want to pick that back.
You are operating under the assumption that absolutely everybody that goes to it wants to see that when it's
Okay.
being
Well, I want to turn this back to our listeners. You know, let us know on Instagram or in the comments if you watch NASCAR for the crashes. I'm confident here, but I think we need some, empirical evidence. Mm-hmm. So with that, I rest my case.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm hearing Moochie say that the people around him are very nice.
Kiss ass.
And and then he picks up my coaster as it falls to the ground. But some part of me thinks that was just for show. And that he's trying to just get a leg up on this. I don't think that says much about Moochie as much as I think it says about me. Just always seeing the bad side of people. And I think that's kind of learned because I think I'm going to have to go with Pat on this. And NASCAR, that's a pretty big sport where they're legit trying to watch someone crash. There's a human being in that car that could get seriously hurt.
You think that it's learned, though, to...
I'm sorry?
You think that it's learned to be that way?
Every red-blooded American loves NASCAR.
I think it's a part of us. Because if not NASCAR, the Coliseum.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
bullfighting.
Bullfighting. A lot of different things where people are cheering on. People getting beaten.
Cockfights, dogfights.
Yeah,
we
there's
love
a lot.
Blood sport.
I love that movie. So I want to see the good in people. I would hope that's the case, but I really don't. I don't see it, and I think you guys both did a good job.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Lando. I really respect your opinion on this one.
on this one. Moochie, I will give you a fourth of a point because you did well. Pat, full point.
Thank you.
So, anything else, folks?
Well, as Pat was advocating to one of these days win a pop culture debate, and he eventually did. One of these days I will win a philosophical debate.
I welcome it.
Mark my words. Yeah.
We got to find another topic. So, guys, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that little bell or whatever alert
on YouTube,
button.
yeah.
Make sure you send us cash via Cash App or Venmo. PayPal, friends and family. We'll take whatever you got.
All right, so unless there's something else, this has been A Friendly Debate.